Do you need the number? The key?
Everything is on now. You see, it's already there.
Cool. Fine. So I'll text everybody.
It's just plug the laptop here, see if it works. So the idea is to have the speaker here with the laptop in this on this table.
Okay.
So this camera can see. Yeah.
Okay. What class is that?
17.
Oh my goodness, that is quick.
So how's the feedback? Anyway.
People are glad. Yeah. They're very glad.
Today I had a meeting with our devs team.
Uh-huh.
I think in 2 weeks we're going to have this in person.
Amazing.
Cool.
Fabulous. Thanks very much for that.
Do you know if any of these people brings a Mac laptop?
Is
Mac a laptop?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Okay, that's a problem. This is now. Okay. So the way we want to do this is not like that, but like that. So this is the cable we want to laptop. Okay. Like so. access the
I can give you mine.
a laptop.
Yeah, let me just type the message to the people, yeah? Yeah. That works.
There's no reach.
Well, other people want to use it as well.
Just to check, did everybody see the email from Oliver? I sent the email about downloading the stuff from the internet.
When did he send it?
Well, I sent it I think today morning or yesterday, or actually I can tell you when I think it was sent. If you go to our website, c++londonuni.com, and go to blog, it was sent today by Oliver, and it was added as well as Skills Matter. There is a link to Google Drive with a couple of files to download. I'm not sure if we need to download all of them, but if you wouldn't mind to start downloading them, because what will happen, we're changing the way. Ollie wants to try a small experiment with regards how we work. So rather than having, like we had lots of troubles with Qt, so the idea is to try to connect to the virtual machine, yes, and work on that virtual machine. Let's see if this will work well, yeah, but fingers crossed.
Does anyone, sorry to interrupt, does anyone know the Wi-Fi?
We love code, one word, no spaces.
We love code, all lowercase.
Hello.
Hello. So many people today. Finally.
You can sit here, you can sit there, you can sit there.
Everybody's going to be there.
Yes.
Actually, I'll just leave this here for a minute. I'll just go. Oh, no lock on the venue then.
Sorry?
No lock on the room.
What do you mean?
It's still in the small stream. They could probably put it in.
Yeah, we normally before that we were back there, yes, in the main where there was noises and someone we can hear. So this is a progress. And if the classroom gets bigger, yes, we'll get let's say 20, 30 people. I think that would be very tempting for them to give us a bigger room.
Right. Thank you.
Maybe from the home page to the blog.
On the blog.
How do you get to the blog?
Okay, so if you scroll, I think to the top,
You were here for a plot, right?
completely to the top.
This is in the list.
It's there. On your phone, it's on the background. It doesn't show very well.
Clearly enough.
I don't know. Okay.
Right.
I'll start talking, yes, pretending I know something, and then I will let you, okay?
Go for it.
Uh,
So, what do I do while you do it?
Did anybody here not get the VM set up? If that's everyone, I have you at least it will solve all your problems.
Who wants to go first?
Hi everybody, welcome on 17th class C++. Today we'll be doing, as I mentioned to the class, I'm talking more now to the people online. We're doing a bit of experiment today with a different way how we can code. It's basically, we'll try to use a virtual machine connected to one repository, and from there basically we have ready environments. So hopefully this will solve in the future lots of problems with connecting and obviously working swiftly. So what I would advise you to do first of all is to the local and online users go to our website cpplondonuni.com. Go to blog and on a blog select option which is, let me tell you, 17 class preparation material.
I'm going to mirror this.
So once you do that, then there's a couple of files which you have to download, and these files basically you can open them with any virtual machine, VirtualBox and so on. What else? Standard
You
things.
can go full screen with it.
Obviously, we need you to book on the Skills Master
Is it staying full
website,
screen throughout?
because without this we obviously will not secure this space.
Okay.
We need
Well,
you
what
as
you
well
using? Show me what you're using in
to
there.
book on our website,
Oh,
so
I
then
see.
at least I
It's
know
just
who's
a
coming
mini
and
mirror.
register on our website, so I can contact you in an easy way for the future.
Mirror.
And as well, if you can,
Okay, and
retweet
then-
our
and
the
then
tweets which I put on about the class, so we can spread the word, so more people basically can benefit.
Okay, so
Now we are
that's the
meeting
resolution for the TV.
always
Just
end
gonna
of the
stay like
week,
this throughout,
Thursday,
right?
Friday usually. We
Could be.
meet for a lunch.
It's because
when we're
initiating
talking
from
about
Web3, so
next
I-
week,
Well, that's when it's booting.
next
Yeah.
week at class. And obviously we encourage people to join us. Usually it's Tristan, me, Oliver, Justin, and sometimes Jacob as well. But more people are welcome. We need your feedback basically. So if you cannot come to the lunch because it might be challenging, lunch is most of the time in Eats, just next door. If you can't join us, send us an email, yes? Send us a little tweet, whatever, yes? If I hear, the feedback, it was great, then we can't do much about that.
Is that gonna?
In order to make this work, we need to understand basically what you want. If you don't understand what you want, I will be teaching you what I think is you want, but that might not be necessarily what you want. For me, that's pretty much all. As soon as Oliver is ready, I can switch you back to Ollie. In the meantime, feel free and talk between yourself.
Right, okay, so for people who haven't got the VM started, as you can see, this is going to be the VM. So, yeah, back up. So, open the VirtualBox.
You know, with this VM, if the dependencies,
Two machines, and you copy to PC.
if the dependencies all worked last week.
Oh yeah, you don't have to use VM. If you don't want to use it, then don't.
But it's just more a case of if it already worked last week, then.
Yeah, feel free. If you don't need to, if you don't need it, then don't use it.
How do I access these files, please?
You can download them. I don't know how
I got
fast
the
internet
files.
is
I got
here.
the files.
You got them. Okay.
Yeah.
So go to VirtualBox and get a file. Import client. Hopefully this will do it. And then, yeah, that's it. So go to the folder browser. Go where we extracted it.
Sorry.
You did download the file, right?
Yeah, I don't
Okay,
know.
then let's just get it next. And that's promising, yeah. Okay.
And that's it, yeah?
And then you should just be able to run it.
Cool, fabulous.
Right.
So
you can't see my toolbar from down there, but it's okay, we'll figure it out. What size it is appropriate.
Okay, turn the pen round. Yes, please.
Right. Who's not set up so far? Anyone else need a USB stick afterwards?
What would be easier, because I had QT last week,
Yeah.
but I only got as far as this thing called kit selection.
Okay, alright
I didn't know the next.
Have you got VirtualBox?
No, I haven't done
Grab
that.
VirtualBox, not that big. That's
I've
one.
got the files, but I haven't got the software.
So you download the 4 files
Yeah.
in the Google Drive. So you just need VirtualBox or VMware Player.
Okay, do you want to
If
take
you're on a Mac, I get VirtualBox.
VirtualBox?
Yeah. How's yours going?
No, I had to restart because didn't like the file. Just one minute. So see, 1 second.
Okay, so we've got 2 at least. You all nearly done. You need it. Anyone else need it? Is everyone else set? Okay, no one needs it. Alright, take your time. Well, for the basics, this should be easy to remember. So obviously you're going to want to go to the Pomodoro timer page. And you're going to want to git clone it. So we're going to paste that in. And great, we've got our repository clone. So you could probably do this with C-line as well if you prefer. I'm a bit more of a command line guy. So now in theory, if I go here, go to here, this should just work with any luck. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Right. Where's the CMake thingy? Indexing content, good. Using GCC. Oh, okay. That's not good. Right. So when I set this VM up, it was supposed to select GCC7, but apparently it didn't, or Clang, but that's fine, we can override it, so we'll just specify Clang here, Clang plus plus here, say okay, and it should run again, hopefully we'll find it. What's this? I don't care about that, go away. Okay, do we have Clang? Yeah, there we go, Clang 5, excellent. So we've got the latest and greatest compiler features. Tristan, is it right if I nick your power bank? Your charger for a bit?
Yeah.
I realised I'm not great.
My laptop doesn't last long without it. Also, I'm not sure if we'll get enough juice to that big machine. I did it before and it glowed red hot.
If worst case, I can run up to work. That'll take me about 5 minutes.
Doesn't do the USB-C, does it?
No, it's not that long. Sadly, that's probably not good. So in theory, we should just be able to build it. At least it should try to build. It might fail. This is not the implemented version, is it? Right, there we go. Okay. So we have a choice. Is there anyone who feels like they would rather recap last week first and go through coding that, or would you rather just skip straight ahead to extending what we would have, or what you did do last week? We won't take that long to implement these anyway. I don't mind. No choice.
I'd like to recap, but I'll go with the
Okay, that's one for recap. If no one else objects. 2 recap. I think we're going to recap. All right, cool. That's what we're going to do then. Have you got yours copied now? Yeah. Okay. Pass on the USB stick. Oh, you got it. Cool. Okay. Carry on. Excellent. Okay. So let's see if I can get this to go side by side. Cool. We can. I'm going to carefully resize this because I don't want to cut it off on the screen. Yeah, this is a bit of an experimental one, this session. Hopefully it'll go well. Come on. Okay. I can live with this.
How did you do that? Side by side?
You can just do a right click on the open file, the file you've got open, and then you can choose to split it vertically or horizontally. Okay, so we go to our interface. And we have this. Let's just open it up here.
You didn't give us an up-to-date image. Just a little notification about
There's new packages all the time. Yeah, I think they are actually older. Okay. Who's still setting up? Everyone? Okay, I'll wait for you to set up then before we can crack it. Anyone having trouble getting it to start? Okay, you're going, cool. The screen resolution should fix itself. It's a bit rubbish.
Yeah, I'll deal with that in a second. Don't worry.
Yeah, I think that's all VirtualBox. Yeah.
Yeah,
How are you getting on?
that's not.
You know, sure. And then your file, import, open the folder, here's where I stuck it.
Will you need the USB stick?
You did it, right?
Can you do it to us now?
Click on that, over here. Yeah. All done. I think it's chapters. Hey, do you want it?
I've got, I downloaded.
Oh, sorry, you got it. Yeah, yeah.
Excuse me.
You've got VirtualBox.
Just downloaded it now.
Okay. Promising. It should be able to open the applications now. Go to the Finder. Applications. VirtualBox. Now at the top of the file, top of the screen. Yeah. No, top of the screen. Cool. And then put the folder icon. Where we download all the stuff from last night. There it is. Just click the OBF and let's highlight it. Continue. Yeah, import it. And she goes. So anyone who hasn't got a JetBrains license yet should be able to just select a trial. If you have got one, then log in with your JetBrains registered account and you can go. So does anyone need help cloning the project? It's this one here. So github.com/CPP London Uni /Pomodoro Timer, or you can just type CPP London Uni as the first one. So if I show you, you can just go here, it's not case sensitive, then you can just click on this, and then there's a clone button.
Planning to do an import takes quite a while.
So it literally copy the disk or something silly. You must do.
I know it's saying it's installed only 10 minutes ago.
10 minutes.
You just chat for 10 minutes.
Okay. Fun. Alright. Time anyway. Right, so who has got it cloned? Okay, that's one. Noisy bunch
Are
tonight.
there any updates from last week?
There is going to be, we're going to do it as a live coding thing, basically. I was planning, I
What
want,
I mean is, have you changed the repository since last week?
No.
They're not.
no, we're literally just going to build on it.
So it's the same, is it exactly the same,
You can just either double thing or put if you've got the installed.
So if you want to import it via CLion, then you can use the import project option, I believe. Let's just try it out. Okay, no, it's not import project. I'll tell them why. Where is it? I know you can access it from the start. There must be a way.
Are you trying to import it from GitHub?
Yeah, if you want to grab
Yeah.
something from GitHub,
I think it's on under the VCS menu.
that makes sense, doesn't it? Checking import from int, no.
Someone asked,
Yeah, there you
asking
go, GitHub.
Antonio, can he use Hyper-V?
I haven't tested it. If Hyper-V can deal with OVF format stuff and VMDKs, then I don't see why not. I mean, our honest answer is give it a shot and let us know if it works. Hopefully it will. Alright, so I'll start cracking on with this. Oh, okay. So what did I stick in the README? So if you read the README, it discusses what you have to do. So yeah, so for simple Pomodoro, which we'll do first.
But I didn't understand what you were saying.
I'm going to grab a drink really quickly.
Oh, okay. So
at least I selected the latest version of Qt or so
yeah, because I use it, it's easier. Yeah.
You can install virtual machines. Normally, VMware stuff, lets you install it There's a virtual machine.
Yeah.
Use VMware.
It's not bad. It's a new one. Quite tasty. It's a dry cider. Oh Jesus, it's 6%. What?
Is the VMware file you sent, is it you download it or do people have to download it?
They can either download it or there's this.
No, I mean on the VMware thing.
Oh no, everything you need is pre-provided, yeah. Except the repository. You have to download the repo.
Then you have to open a command line.
It doesn't have to. It's up to you. You can, if you're comfortable with the command line, use one. If you would prefer to just do it from CLion,
to find out
just do it from CLion.
how to guide anyway.
So this is the URL. I managed to misspell introduction there.
So I've got this, right?
Okay, so thing bigger.
Just try it.
Texting your screen yes. Install VirtualBox tools. Right command control. Just tap control command together. That's the mouse is out. go to the top.
LS toolbase slash dot SSH.
SSH.
Slash
Try to keep it
SSH.
Yes, edition CD.
Probably LS minus LA.
Yes.
You don't have any keys set up at all.
You just go to click on the little use icon. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Since this directory's got no real permissions on it, you put try and make HTTP. You're changing the git at in your.
There's always something about
HTTP type URL.
Okay, go to VirtualBox. It's in your
Right, thank you very much.
Sometimes I just look.
settings. You want to add a CD drive to it. Yeah, that's promising plus. No, try the other blue one. Yeah. Yeah. Options. Leave it. Save it. Okay, start it up. Hopefully the system can install the additional software. Actually, now I say it, there may be a simpler way. You don't need to do that. There's an easy way. So, if anyone's on VirtualBox, they can actually install the guest tools directly in OpenSUSE to make it, because I'm sure your screen looks horrible right now. So, anyone need help with that?
Well, mine just start large.
Once you've installed them and restarted, it should. We may not even need to restart. So to do it, go to System, click Yast. The root password is QWERTY, QWERTY, it's just in a line on your keyboard. And then what you're going to want to do is go to Software Management. And then you'll get this lovely window come up. And then you can search for VirtualBox. And you can select this one, VirtualBox Guest Tools, just put a check mark in it like that. And then you can just hit accept and then it should install it. And we can eventually get onto that coding. It's proved to be as much of a learning experience for me with setting people up as it is teaching them our language.
Somebody, when we were doing one of these before, referred to doing this as the install fest.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's quite nice. And search for VirtualBox. And scroll down a bit. Yes, there you go. Accept. Continue.
It's important to keep hydrated when you're programming.
Yeah. Okay. And then just reboot. Just go to the one. There's a little cycle icon on the edge of that one. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Okay. Fingers crossed. Okay, let's get cracking. Right. So, in terms of implementing our wonderful Pomodoro from scratch, so as you can see, there's two different challenges. There's a simple one and there's the threaded one. We're going to tackle the simple one first. So obviously you've been given a class that we have to sort of give features to, or functions, and that comes from our interface file, which is called iPomodoro, which obviously lives here. So if you look at the if we look at the README real quick, because part of the instructions are here. As you can see, we obviously need to implement it. We're also encouraged to implement this iTime formatter. You don't physically have to, but since we're encouraged to, we're going to start with that. So here's our lovely iTime formatter.
Ollie, would you mind bumping the font size a bit? 'Cause it's-
Not a problem. Let's try this.
Or there's a presentation mode as well. That might be good.
That did not do what I wanted. You.
In view, you can go presentation mode and it gets rid of most of the Chrome and stuff.
Where is it? Oh, in view, sorry.
Yeah.
That's. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah, I might come out of this. Yeah, I'll just resize it for the font. It's a bit too small for me. Alright. Let's try 16. Is that readable? Is it good enough or one larger? Decide.
24 maybe?
Something a bit larger for
A
me.
bit larger. Let's try 18. How's that? Any good? Yeah, alright.
Can you guys
So,
Yeah.
okay. So, we may want to refactor it later. We'll start out with our iTime formatter implementation. So, we'll just call it time formatter. So, we just got a simple subclass here, which is going to obviously implement everything from this lovely thing here. So the first thing we want to do is obviously declare our functions. So we're going to have format time. As you can see, it's this one here. So it returns a std string. It's called format time. Takes a UN32T. I'm not going to bother naming the variables just yet, just to show that I can. It's a const member function. Oh, right, there we go. It's a const member function, obviously, and I'm going to use the override keyword to indicate that this should be overriding something. So, for example, if I did that by accident, it's now an error because it doesn't override anything because there is nothing called formatty time. So, having overrides is a nice little safety check there. And then obviously we don't need anything else because the destructor is virtual. That's taken care of for us since it's already implemented as a default, whereas this one's obviously unimplemented. So we've got that. Great. Okay. So now we can go to our class here. No, not there. Come on. Behave yourself. Right. So let's do our std string one first. It's pretty much the only function that matters. What class do I stick it in? I put it in simple Pomodoro. Just for simplicity, I'm going to use our namespace. Since it's only in our translation unit, no need to worry. Actually, I might be able to abbreviate that a bit more. We make it public, doesn't it?
Could you explain why you've decided to use a nested class?
No particular reason other than to show I can do it. I'm probably going to end up removing it from this class later, but as a demonstration of how you can do it, I thought it's somewhat useful.
So is it because the implementation of this is sort of private to your the simple Pomodoro class and it's not going to be used outside except by that interface?
So as I'm just tackling it, yes, but when I come to doing the threaded one, I'm actually going to want to reuse it, and then I'm going to refactor it. Obviously, I know right now that I don't really want to do that, but as an exercise in changing requirements, I'm going to pretend that I don't know. Okay, so.
Sorry, I was trying to guide you to the answer.
We've got the UN32T minutes, and int seconds. That needs to be const. Can you resize you a bit more? Yes, we can. Right. So, actually, I need to change that again now. According to this lovely spec, which gets, is there a word wrap on this?
Yes, there is.
Word wrap, word wrap. If there is, I can't see it. That's annoying.
Where is that?
Yeah, alright, whatever. We'll just
I know I turned it on months ago.
Yeah. Come on, it's not resized. Oh, there we go. Okay. So it's going to take generic class, formats the time into a string. Our job is to add some leading zeros to it. So, for example, if we have 1 minute and 4 seconds, it should return 1 and 0 4. Okay, so that's fair enough. So we will have a stood string to return, and we can actually initialize this with toString mins. So we've already got our minutes taken care of. Why does this keep freezing? Okay. And we can actually add the colon. So we've already got the minutes taken care of there. Is this what this line does fairly clear to everyone? We take the integer minutes, toString turns it into an actual string object, and we have our colon prepared so we can take care of the seconds next. So obviously the next thing we want to do is format the seconds. Now let's just pretend I don't actually have any good ideas on how to do this. And I think one of the most valuable skills you can have is just knowing how to use Google. So we're just gonna say we don't know how. So it's gonna involve a string and some formatters, but let's see, here we go. C++, string, leading zeros. Let's see what comes up. This looks like a pretty good answer, doesn't it? Don't like. No, see, this is the accepted answer. I don't like this answer. It sucks because we don't want leading zeros unless we need them. Now this is looking better. This is looking like something I can use here. I think I like this idea. So we're gonna use this. We're definitely gonna use this. So we need to include a few headers though. It's based on what this guy's done. He's included iomanip, which lets us use this setW, setFill. So and let's say I don't know what these do. So I can say CPP reference, stood, setW. What does this thing do? Let's see, setW. What might it do? When using an expression, sets the width parameter of the stream, out or in. Okay, so that means we'll have a string stream and it has to have a width of 2. So that means if we have a value of 10 or above, it's not going to actually bother with the leading 0. Cool. That's what I like to hear. So in that case, let's have a go at it. So we're going to need to include sstream. So we're going to include the string stream. And we're going to include iomanip, those nice little bits that set the width and everything. Okay, cool. Maybe so. Okay. So first I need to declare it. Great. And then we can just use it like it was cout. So we can do stood setW, we have a width of 2, because it's going to be from 0 to 59. SetFill, and the character is obviously a 0, if you want a leading 0. And finally, we want the number of seconds. And then all we have to do is obviously return ret plus out extra. Now in theory should do it for us. Just to compare to the original answer, he sets the width, sets the fill. So does anyone have any confusion there? Does anyone also know why I wouldn't just use the O-string stream? So for example, why wouldn't I do, say, this? Oops. Anyone know why that's not going to work?
To range. Funnily enough, I would have expected that to work. That's what I would have written.
It won't work because setW2 is going to bust it up.
Set W2 is after the
It is, but it's going to set the width of the OStream stream.
Yes.
So obviously this is going to be.
Already been out.
This could be. Let's say this is one character, and that's one character. Setting the width is going to limit it to 2. Unless I'm wrong.
Set W won't take effect until after the.
I'm pretty sure the
Minutes
second
have gone
version
in.
is
Do
exactly
you think it will work? Do you reckon it will work? All right. You know what? Maybe I could have sworn I tried this and I was wrong, but there's a lovely thing online which we're going to do to test it live as well. So let's see. I could very well be wrong here. This is the beauty of live coding. Right. I just want to mess around. So here we go. Include stream. Include IOmanip. In main. Right. Paste that in. And instead of minutes, we'll say, I don't know, pretend it's 7 minutes. And let's pretend it's 5 seconds. Yeah, give me a second, I typed it in. Oh, good. Oh, good. That's really brilliant stuff. Right. Let's see what that gives us. And hopefully it will have run in this lovely... It works! I'm talking complete nonsense. Great, so we got an easy solution, so we can actually get rid of this. So, actually, yeah, completely functional solution. And obviously now, that's all we need. So great, we've actually got our time formatter problem actually solved. So that's great. Why is it complaining? Format time is not declared implies time formatter. What did I get wrong here? I messed something up. Time formatter. So you want to see what I've done wrong?
What's it saying?
It might just be a bug in C-line. It's claiming it's not declared.
I think it doesn't like the fact that you're using the declaration is the same as the name of the inner class, maybe.
It doesn't like what, sorry?
Got a using declaration time formatter. Might be confusing C-line that it's the same as the name of the inner class.
I see what you're saying. All right. Well, we'll test that in a second. See if it is wrong. Okay. So the next thing we're going to want to do, obviously, now that we've got the ability to actually format nice strings of time, is to implement the remainder of what we need for the actual simple Pomodoro class. So we've got our lovely iSimple countdown class here, and obviously we need to implement it. So the first one is obviously this overload, which takes a start time. So for now, I'm just going to assume, without really thinking about it, I can probably just reuse it. So using iSimple countdown. Right, and that says that we're just going to re-expose the constructor of the class we inherit from. You have to do this explicitly. This does not apply to regular member functions, but if it's a constructor of one you inherit from, you have to explicitly re-expose it. Okay, so that was easy. Not actually going to work for us, but we don't know that yet. Okay, so now we need something that will check if it's complete. So we have all is complete. Const override. We have UN32T current count. Const override. We have void current override. Keep freezing up. And we have cancel. And then we have the format current time, which we can actually reuse from our earlier class. And that's all of our functions. Excellent, okay. So now let's start implementing. So the first one basically it says, okay, when we're finished counting down, we should return true, and if not, we should return false. Okay, so I'm looking at this, I'm thinking I probably need something to actually count down with So this start time, can I count that down? No, because it's const, it's actually protected here, so I can't change it. It's not really much use to me actually. I will have to change, or sorry, not change, but use my own version. So I'm going to have a private field, and we'll do uint 32t current time. Easy enough. And then I can't actually use this, I've decided, because I need to initialize this from something. Actually, shall I use a constructor or not? Okay, so there's two ways I can tackle this. My first option is I can initialize it from the base classes, doing it that way. An alternative syntax that would negate having a using statement would be I could actually just do simple Pomodoro int 32t, and then I have to call the base constructor. So hold on. So we do simple countdown start time. So obviously we now call the base constructor with start time, and then after we've done that, but let me try and format this a bit nicer, not the greatest, but whatever. We can then initialize current time. Come on. Start time. And then obviously have a function body to do anything in it. So those are effectively equivalent. Obviously this is much simpler, so I'm going to go with that. But just to show you, could have done that. So we'll stick with the using statement. Okay. So let's start implementing. Going here. We are going to implement is complete, so we have full is complete. Const. And I've already made a bug. Didn't actually make it a member of the class. So if we do I simple countdown. No, sorry, simple Pomodoro. Okay, so now we have our function body for the member is complete. And according to this specification, it needs to be true when we finish counting down or not. So probably the simplest way to do this is we've now got our current time, which we're not doing anything with yet, but presumably when we've run out of time, it's going to be 0, I'm going to assume. So we'll just do return current time 0. Seems simple. If it's hit 0, it must be done. Okay, so now we want to get the current count, so uint 32t. Simple. Why is it so laggy? Jesus. Current. And obviously we have current time, so I can just return it. Cool. Seems logical enough. Anyone lost? Or is it looking reasonably good?
Sorry, I was concentrating.
Go on, if you haven't got any questions, fire them up at me. There's no point in me just coding and losing you all. How do you think it looks so far?
Can you just flip back to the header for a moment?
Absolutely. So we've got our class here, simple Pomodoro, implementing iSimple countdown.
Yeah.
We're reusing the base header, base constructor. We've just got declarations for all of our members that are overriding what's in the base. And we've added our own private field so we can track the current time because we're not actually allowed to touch the start time in the base, it's const. Seem reasonable? Okay. Alright, so the next one.
I didn't actually know you could use the field from the base class in the initial class.
Oh, yeah. Quite nice. Obviously, one thing to be aware of is that I should point out the order of declaration in a class determines initialization. So when you construct it, it always goes from the base upwards. So this is start time is guaranteed to be constructed first. But to show you something you cannot do, so let's say, for example, I was going to use the constructor solution. So we're going to comment that out and say simple Pomodoro uint 32t and then t. Okay, so we call base, of course. And then now let's say we wanted to initialize our own field. Now, let's say I declared, I don't know, stood string A. Why does this keep freezing? Okay, stood string B. This would be horribly invalid if I did B A. Well, actually, so this wouldn't strictly be invalid, but it would not be probably what you expect. So, sorry, let me do this in a way that will actually be horrible. A, B, that. Okay. So, even though I've put these in reverse order up here, that has no bearing on the initialization order. So what will actually happen is A will be initialized from B first, which is bad because the compiler is going to be on the stage of initializing A. It does this one, then it will do this one, and then it will do this one. So attempting to initialize A from B is going to give you a bad time because B hasn't even been touched yet. B is just some crap. So I'm pretty sure it's UB, isn't it? That would be UB. So yeah, the order you specify here you cannot redefine. So don't ever make the initialization of your members go out of order with their declaration. Now if I swap B and A down here, if I swap these two, then it'll be fine because that's redefine the initialization order. But doing it in the constructor cannot impact its order of initialization.
The takeaway is the initialization happens in the order the members are declared.
Yes, exactly. It's in the order.
Doesn't take any notice of. Actually, that overrides whatever order you happen to put them in when you write the code, which is quite unintuitive, but it's what happens.
Fortunately, most compilers these days will warn you and go, if you do it out of order in your constructor, it will go, oh, by the way, your constructor's not doing them in the order they're declared in. So usually these days, if you're using a modern compiler, you're safe. Okay, so we've got our is complete, we check the current time's nothing. We've got our current count, which just gives you back the current time. So the next thing we're really going to want, well, we're just going in order obviously, is our lovely decrement one. So we'll have void, simple, Pomodoro, decrement. This one's not a const method because it's going to change something. So these two are const members because they don't change anything, they just give you the current state, so they can happily be const. This one's going to change itself, so...
Two questions. The first one is, since we're using the time, are we going to use any features of stood or not? And this candidate is asking, please do show the compiler warnings gives to.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, we will. That's a really good point about chrono. I will try and think of something now. That's a very nice idea. But for the initial project that I introduced, this is the one from last week basically. This doesn't have any need for chrono. It's quite simple. So yeah, so we need to decrement. So it doesn't need to return anything. So let's just decrement current time. You could do pre or post. I'm obviously doing pre because, strictly speaking, if you do post decrement something, then you're returning the original object and then doing the decrement. Now, for something as trivial as a number, the compiler is obviously just going to go, well, we don't need to do anything with that. But think of a class. If you made a class and your class was copyable and your class was also decrementable, whether you implemented operator minus minus, then if you do a pre-decrement, it's just going to take your existing class instance and decrement it. If you post decrement, it's going to generate a brand new class. So it's going to copy the class with the old value. So then that new copy has got to construct and destruct and do all that work. But then it's going to finally run the decrement operator of your own class. But you are unwittingly creating a copy of your class by running the decrement operator, which again, for trivial types, may not matter. The compiler may even be smart enough for some things just to throw away the result. But it's one thing to be aware of, that doing a post decrement on complex classes, like maybe your class prints out debug lines or something, you're going to see that copy printing out debug lines and go, what the hell's going on? Oh, it's because I post decremented. So there's strange little pitfalls like that, you can see. Oh yeah, go on.
I don't know if this is true. Someone told me that it depends on what you're going to use. if you're going to use a copied value, if you're not going to use a copied
Precisely.
value.
Yeah. If you actually want to get the old value, then of course that's it. You definitely want to do that. Yeah, of course.
But if you don't use a compiling treat it like a
If it can. So if you had a plus plus or minus minus operator on a class, and your class's copy constructor was printing some stuff out to the screen, or something like that, something where it says, oh, this actually does work when it copies, I can't just say sod this, throw it away, then having a post decrement where you don't use the result, you're going to see debug lines or whatever and wonder why it's there possibly. So it just depends if you want it though, of course, yeah, you need it. Alright, so now we have our cancel, simple Pomodoro. So what does this say you have to do? If cancel is called, all subsequent calls to is complete should return true. Okay, well, when this returns true when current time is 0, so to make that return true, I can just set it to 0. Seems reasonable enough. Okay, now we have the stored string, format, current time. Come on, how hard is it to do a new line for me? Apparently really hard. Okay. Well, we need to call this thingy, but this thingy is not static. So I need an instance. So I have a few ways to skin this particular cat. I could say, well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to just declare a static instance. It's kind of lazy. Can do that. Maybe a cleaner way I could have done it was with this class. So a member field. Although that's probably not the best idea because it's going to be public, which I probably don't really want. So arguably, we would put it down here so we have. I'll let you guys pick. Do we want to use the private field or do we want to use the static in the translation unit? This is exposed. This is private here anyway, so we can either use this one or we can use this static one that lives just in the CPP file. Doesn't matter which one. There's no right or wrong answer. They're both correct.
Private sounds like
you'd rather put it on a class. I think it's generally probably more idiomatic. Yeah. Depends on your. I mean, this is global. It's local to the translation unit. It's static.
I'm in favour for private.
We're going to go with the class member. I think that's reasonable.
I don't know what other people think.
I think it's fine. So now we can use our members. We have formatter, format time. Why is this? Because I made a bug. I fixed my bug. And so, a little bit of a challenge here. We only have the seconds. Okay. Well, I know what we'll do then. Let's figure out the minutes. So we'll have an auto mins. Current time. I mean, if I want to get the number of minutes, it's fairly obvious. We can just divide it by 60. Now, the reason this works as is, without any function called, is because this is an integer. It's not a floating point value, and this is not a floating point value. So this is always going to get rounded down. So the minutes will always be rounded down, even if this is 59.999999. It'll be 0. 59.99999 divided by 60. When it's both integers will become 0. And again, if it was 69.9 or say 69.99999, it should be 60. Sorry, 119 rather. Okay, so we've got our minutes. Now we need the remainder though, so we want the seconds. So again, we're going to have to do something at the current time. So there's two ways you could do it. One way, of course, is, well, we could now take those minutes, multiply them by 60. So we could technically do, current time minus mins times 60. So obviously, say it was 65 seconds, then mins is going to be 1. So then that's going to be 65 minus 1 times 60. So 65 minus 60 is just 5. But there's a better way. We can use modulo, which gives you the remainder anyway. So modulo operator gives you the remainder. So we can just do %60 and it does exactly the same thing. So now we've got our values, mins, sex, and we've got our result, which we just want to return. And that's it. So we're now formatting current time. Why is that complaining? Private time formatter. This thing's very.
With the seconds, could we use the minutes to extract seconds? That wouldn't work.
What do you mean use the minutes to extract the seconds?
No, I was thinking because if we use the current time, we divide it to minutes, yes?
Oh yeah, I just showed that, yeah. Yeah, this is what I just showed. So you're thinking of this, right? You're doing minus mins. You're thinking of that, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I just showed you, okay. But obviously this is simpler. This is complaining it's not accessible. Private is inaccessible. Why? This is the same class. Okay, I'm afraid that I'm not being very impressed by this right now. It's definitely confused. That's a const, and also that's a const instance method. So it's not because we're accessing it from a const function here. Very strange. Very strange. The format there.
Is the compiler itself complaining or just CLine?
I think it's CLine, I guess. I don't think it's a compiler. We'll find out anyway. Well, you know what? Let's build the target. So view project. So one thing to note is obviously as we're working on just simple Pomodoro, we can't build everything yet. So where is the targets option? Is this a target?
Is it the right is actually you've got a selection.
On the
top right there's sort of a menu where the play button is.
Yeah, thank you. That's the one. Is that going to build everything? Let's find out.
One thing that's worth bearing in mind if you're doing things like modular operations is that they're really nice and intuitive on positive numbers. If you ever go near negative numbers with them, think about it.
Exactly. Yeah, these are unsigned.
Yes.
So the compiler has generously told me what I've screwed up. So format time is a private member of time formatter. You fool. So I'm going to show you something.
Before Ollie does it, can anybody know how to?
Yeah. Do you know? Does anyone know what I need to add to fix this?
Change to protected.
You're missing the public.
Precisely. I'm going to be a bit more tricky though. Let's say that I'm actually not allowed to change this. So I want to access it, but I'm not allowed to change this class. Anyone got any ideas how I can still get at it?
Struct.
Huh?
Struct.
What do you mean? So the challenge. So we're setting a challenge here. So I'm not allowed to change the header. That's stuck. But I want to use it. So I have to write some code in here to be able to use this. Anyone got any guesses how I can do it? You know, don't you? Don't ruin it. See if anyone else can get it.
Is it a friend class?
Huh?
Class which is a friend of this class.
Can't change the header. So I've got to stick something in the. I can only stick something in the body of this method.
How about create another method that will change for us?
Okay, so I'll show you how I'll do it. So we know that the base of it is iTime formatter, right? And we know that in iTime formatter it's definitely accessible. So I can just do this. I'll do iTime formatter ref. So we've just cast it to a reference to the base. Now you can do it.
Reminds me of the fact that some companies when they changed, they were coding this library and they changed some of the headers from any private members to public so they can access the data directly.
So it's a crucial thing to note about the virtual keyword here is that because the base class says this is public, it doesn't matter if someone who inherits from it decides I'm going to make it private for me. Fine, it's private for them, but anyone who goes, I'm going to use the base type, because the base says it's public, we're allowed to use it. So this is my, obviously in practice, since it is my class, you can really do this, but it's a clever workaround. So let's see what happens if I try and build it now. We still got a bug. I've missed out a const somewhere. Yes, so this is a const accessible method. So when we use this, this is actually also const. So easy peasy, just hit const ref and now it will work. Cool. Hit build. Let's see if it works though. So we're going to go into our lovely documents folder. And we're going to go to Pomodoro timer. We're going to debug build. This should launch it. It does. 7 seconds. Yay, it works. Got it right first time.
Does it format the drive afterwards? Does it format the drive?
It also formats your hard drive afterwards, yeah, but it's a VM now, so it can't really do much damage. Actually, no, it escapes the VM and hacks the Pentagon, sorry about that.
So if you just do it for like 96 seconds or just over 60, just to show that the formatting's working.
65, good enough? Yeah. Or let's say 234. Oh no, it broke. Oh no, this is my Mac being horrible, I think.
It's not, you've got to wait a minute for it to finish the auto.
Oh yeah, it's only the threaded one that interrupts, isn't it? Yeah. So in this one of the pitfalls of the simple one is it gets stuck. So it actually dies. So
you can also use return iformat dot itime formatter : format time open bracket min sec directly. Not often used, but nice to know.
So you could, if it was public, what you could do, to that note though, oh boy, this is going to be horrible. This is going to be horrible, guys, but get ready for it. Okay, we could do this. Can I get away with that? Yeah, I can. And that is truly hideous. But to strictly do it because it's private is you first of all construct it as a PR value here. We cast it to a PR value to the interface, and then finally call format time. Yeah, that's some horrible stuff there. But does everyone understand why that works and how that works?
So would you return that?
So what it does is it constructs a PR value of the class here. This is an instance because this constructs an instance. In old C++ you'd use parentheses, but obviously braces are the new way. And then what we do is, because it's a PR value of time formatter, which doesn't allow us to access format time, well we say, well sorry, we'll cast it to the base. So we cast it to a PR value to the base. I don't think I can cast it to an L value, can I? No, you have to be a PR value, makes sense. So you have to cast it to a PR value, because it is a PR value of the base, which then does let you access it. So the result of this static cast is a PR value of the base, which we can then call format time on. So this gets constructed and destructed on the same line.
What I mean is, do you have to put a return before the static cast?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, sorry, to be correct, it would be returning, yeah. It is a return result. It's not much use otherwise.
We've got a question.
Yeah.
How are we creating that dialog with just those two classes? Or is it a lot of the code coming from do not read folder?
Yeah, so all of that's coming from the do not read folder. But we're gonna actually start reading the do not read folder anyway. So once we crack through it. So there we go. We've got a working simple version. That's cool. Lovely. Okay. So it works. Has everyone else had a go at it and got it working, or does anyone need any help before we move on? Yeah.
VM assistance.
Oh, VM assistance, not a problem. Yeah, let's take a quick moment. If anyone's watching and curious or has any questions or needs help.
What's the fast? How do we sort of guess conditions?
So search for results. Close that. Search for version box tool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's VirtualBox guest
Didn't
tools.
update the packages.
That's what I was looking for, updating the version.
Yeah, the password for the root is QWERTY software management. And then it's VirtualBox dash guest dash tool dash tools, etc. And then just reboot the VM. Wait for Tom to return. He might see if there are any questions.
So VirtualBox tools.
Yes, VirtualBox guest tools.
Yeah.
Yeah, guest tools, yeah. Right, has everyone got their simple Pomodoro working?
This is it.
Or everyone who's got their VM working at least, I hope.
Yeah.
That's promising. Okay, cool.
How much RAM are we supposed to get for this thing?
You shouldn't need to do it a lot. I think it defaults to about 1.5 gigs. That's not too much for most. If you, I mean, it's going to depend on how big of a project you're opening in CLine. This should not require much. If you download the Linux kernel or something, it's going to be worse. Yeah.
So how do I do this next? This is just in the setup stuff. So I've got the
Virtual machine.
I've got the thing up and running.
Did you find a repository? No. So use this.
Oh, you tried to do that.
You can do this. You can find it. I'll show you.
Pomodoro around 40, 45 or 50 minutes.
Yes.
Usually, I think 25 minutes.
Which 20 time machine? The works in sales.
The usual Pomodoro is 25 minutes.
Just use it.
Because obviously you
Use it. Dependencies.
Exhaust.
So I'm not sure if I can zip it should install it. Just to get it.
Also installed different.
We had 6 people online.
That's weird.
Just as well they're not here.
Hmm?
Just as well they're not in this
Yeah, it
room.
wouldn't fit.
Yeah.
You reboot the VM, correct? Okay, that's unfortunate. So check the version control. What's that new tab? Yeah, so what we can do then is clear the URL. So if you don't want to suffer with this, you could try it in. Actually, did I have VMware Client for Mac? That's a good question.
I think they call it something different possibly.
There's VMware Fusion that's paid for.
Is that the case? You can't have Hyper-V and VirtualBox at the same time? Hyper-V is blocking something.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And once you install Hyper-V, you can't run get any other virtualization stuff. Okay, so here's this is a whole lot. Suffering this resolution.
See if I can change the screen resolution or any.
use the tools that it ships. So you try and install them from the virtual disk in. It's I think that's the problem. Everyone else has done it from OpenSUSE's repo.
Yeah, after that, and it's rebooting, it's still
Still terrible.
low risk, low resolution.
Try resizing inside it, going to Yast. You can probably try going into Yast and setting screen size.
Yeah, I just tried that, but unfortunately.
It's locked at 640.
So the Yast, don't do that. Go Yast.
Is it the VMDK file that we're supposed to do?
That's the hard drive bit, yeah. It's the virtual hard drive. But are you literally just setting up the VM?
I'm
Scratch.
That's what I did initially. That's why you came over and showed me.
I mean, if it's starting, you must say, right?
Yeah.
Could you leave at the end the tools is clashing? Visual Box tools?
Didn't install them.
Do you have?
That is all the debug and I'm currently doing the key. We also
Let's change them.
The hardware.
So just reversing more space here to more virtual code. Something that fits all those requirements.
There is the KDE displays tool.
That should pass them if you are running a because so we really want to do that. We can just
Got resolution option.
Yeah, probably somewhere. So can't actually see it.
we would fit on without a name
Can you show the window?
to remember.
Oh, I see.
Sorry. Search for resolution, maybe?
Yeah, I tried that.
Let me have a look on mine. I'll tell you if mine works properly. Why is VirtualBox such a pain? So for resolution, let's see, settings, system settings, desktop window, display and monitor. Yeah, it is that one. It's got a scroll bar. Tristan, take him to.
The displays.
You found okay, sorry. It's scrollable. Okay, so I think if you do that, it's displaying some. Yeah, don't use that. Just open up the start and you settings. Hopefully you'll actually offer you a decent solution for system settings. And then there's display something. Display on it. Yeah, scroll down that bit. Now it's not changeable, it's changeable.
Other settings. Refresh rate now as well, then you choose resolution.
You could try changing the display driver settings in VirtualBox.
Yeah, I think that's better.
I don't know why the tools don't work, that's bizarre. I'm on VMware for the record, so maybe that's why. You could try VMware, VMware Player, it's free. Okay, so anyhow, let's crack on with the threaded countdown. So again, we've got our interface file which has all of them, so we're going to skip down now to, we've done this one now, we've implemented the simple one. So now we've got our exciting iThreaded countdown, which has some much more complex requirements. I'm going to make this vertical because this is just not big enough. Horizontal rather. Okay, yeah, that's better. All right. So now I want to work on threaded Pomodoro. Yeah, probably top bottom. Okay. So in here we've got the interface, threaded countdown, and implementation here, which we're going to fill in. So let's see what it requires. So, okay, the meat of this function seems to be this thing, or it is this thing, I wrote it. Invoke process loop. So if we're already counting down, this should cause us to start over with a new time. Time is the total number of seconds to count down for, which is what we call here, I guess. Why not? So I'm role playing as if I didn't write it. And callback is a function that should be called every tick with the number of seconds remaining and its parameter. If it returns true, you should behave as if interrupt was called. Interrupt is here. Okay. This is the same as the other one. Okay, cool. So I'll want to refactor for that later. And it's got a virtual constructor call. All right. So let's start working then. Okay. So I need to override this main one. So void invoke process loop uint32t time stood function rule uint32t, and again it's frozen. Ref. Thank you very much. And then there's interrupt. Is there anything else? This format current time, and that's it. Cool. Okay. So stood string format current time. I missed one. Looks like I made a mistake here somewhere. Function doesn't override anything. What did I get wrong? Void invoke process loop uint time stood function uint. I don't know.
Oh, it's the namespace. You use CPP London in one place and CPP London Uni in the other.
Yeah, it's not seeing this. This is a bug. Alright, I'll have to fix that later. So there you go. Just to make it even trickier, I screwed up the namespace for you. Okay, so I'm missing one. Okay, seems fair enough. We've got our stuff. We don't have any fields yet, but I'm sure we're going to need some. I'm thinking of maybe being slightly clever and recycling simple Pomodoro. I could do that. I could definitely do that. Do I want to do that? Well, let's think about this. So if I do, what do I gain from this? I have a class that will manage time for me effectively, although it's not on a thread. But then again, I think I will. I'm going to reuse this. I'll try to see how it goes. So let's include what we made earlier. Okay. So what we're going to want to do though is we're going to want one instance of this class per run, because obviously it's not really much use otherwise, because you can only initialize the start time at construct time. So yeah, let's have a private, and I'll just keep stood unique pointer to it. Come on. Cool, so now I just need to include the header, which is memory, for no wonders. So yeah, we're gonna actually reuse the code we just wrote in the simple one. So why not? We're going to use a unique pointer because when we first construct this, it's not going to actually need this object until we start processing. Additionally, if we call this again, we'll have to reset this because its constructor is fixed. There's no way to change its time once you've constructed it, so we just have to get rid of it and make a new one. Seems good. Okay, so let us do our invoke process loop and have a think about this.
You've got a typo in memory, by the way. Or have you? Oh, sorry, I can't read.
No worries. Okay, so let's move on to the translation unit. Alright, so it's meant to be threaded, so let's just see what these requirements are. Should start the process of counting down. If we're already counting down, it should cause us to start over with the new time. Time is the number of total seconds to count down for. Callback is a function that should be called every tick, and I've just realised I will be using chrono, with the number of seconds remaining as its parameter. If it returns true, you should behave as if interrupt was called. Okay, fair enough. So The first thing I'm going to need is a thread. So we're going to include thread. The job of invoke process loop is essentially when someone calls this, they're going to expect us to return immediately. I should have put that in the doc actually, but we have to return immediately, so we know that much. Okay, so we're going to need a thread. I'm actually going to need chrono for timing. So using namespace. Void Pomodoro. Void process loop. Oh, it filled it all in for me. That's beautiful. Oh, now it's frozen again. Okay. I don't like that. Okay. So someone's going to call us. We need to call them back every tick. Okay. So first I should probably have a thread object that's living on my class, so let's actually add that one first. So we've already got a counter. I actually need to include thread in the header, so I'm going to cut that out of there. And we're going to stick it up here.
There's a question. Why pass stud function followed by two ampersand?
Good question actually. So stud function is actually copyable. So I could have just taken the value time. But in order to avoid that, I take ref to explicitly state that I want you to give me ownership of the function object you're going to pass, the callable function. So what you pass to me is the and is defining the contract. It means I'm going to take this object and you should not use it after you've called me and given it to me. Clear enough, hopefully?
So the caller has to write std move if it's not something that's being constructed in place.
Precisely.
And that is a way of saying I am giving this away. I mustn't use it again afterwards.
Yeah. If you see stud move, it should be then clear in your mind you're not to use it again, or at least again. If anyone attended my move semantics class, what it physically means is the object may be reusable in that you might be able to reinitialize it, but in terms of whatever it was holding, it's gone. You can expect it to be gone. It's not going to be in the same state. Okay. So I need a thread object. So we're going to go stud thread. We'll call it the runner because it's going to run stuff. Simple enough. Okay. So just go to the interface and see what it says again. Should start the process of counting down if we are already counting down. So I need to handle if we're already counting down. I can't just crash it up. It should cause us to start over with a new time. Okay, so that means I've not only got to start the thread, I've also got to make the thread terminate if we're already doing something. So let's think about this. So let's say if my thread runner is joinable, and we can go into some standard library stuff here. So when I construct the stud thread initially, if you construct the class, it hasn't actually been given anything to run, so it's not going to be joinable because there's nothing to join. The thread's not actually running. But if it is joinable, that means I must have started it. So if I've started it, I need to collect it. So I don't know how I'm going to collect it yet, so I'm just going to say to do make it join somehow, and then join it. Okay, so we'll figure that out in a minute. Once I know I've made it finish, I can reassign it. So now we're actually going to make it do what the spec requires it to do. So if we already can, okay, so start the process. So we'll do runner equals stud thread, and we're going to use a lambda. So we don't need any parameters. So we're going to capture this. That's pretty much all I need in this instance. Or actually, I guess I need the callback. We're going to take the callback into the lambda. This is C++14 syntax, and that is not valid at all. We'll do callback. So the capture list of the lambda is now taking the function object, and I think I need mutable. So now it's non-const. So we have a lambda. It captures the class instance pointer. It moves the callback function into its own object, because again the lambda is an object. Doesn't take any parameters, obviously, and of course it's mutable. If you want to make this a bit more interesting, actually, we could avoid using mutable. We could get rid of this, and we could actually make it take a parameter. So we could say we'll take the type of callback, ref, and just call it callback. And then std_thread can actually pass parameters for you, so we can actually std_move callback to it. And what this will do is it will invoke the lambda, which captures this, and the lambda takes one parameter, which is callback. So to make this a bit more readable, just to make your lives easier, I'm actually going to cut the lambda out of here, so I'm going to get rid of that. So now we've actually got an assigned lambda, so we can just do lambda.
So what is the mutable do?
Sorry?
What is the mutable do?
They're mutable. So it doesn't. I don't actually need it now because I decided not to capture callback. But if I did, when anything you capture in this section is const. So for example, say you captured a std string, like just an example, right? You could have a equals std string hi, yeah. So in the lambda's capture, I can now use a, right? So I could do like a dot size or something, yeah. The thing is that without mutable, a will actually be const. It will be a constant string. You can't change it, and it applies to anything you capture. Whereas if you add the mutable keyword after the argument list, it now says I actually want to be able to modify anything I capture. This obviously isn't strictly a capture. It's just making an object inside the capture list. But I could capture the thread, so you could have a capture runner, for example.
But I thought you could specify constant in the capture list.
Say that again.
Could you not specify constant in the capture list?
That is a good question. I'm not sure that's supported, but let's try const a equals. I think you can put it on the type actually, so you can do a equals const std string. Can you? No, you can't. No.
Capture is const by default, and that's
Yeah.
mutable on the whole lambda is the only way to change it.
Yeah.
Someone else knows different.
So obviously the thing to realise is that a std thread executes. What's that noise?
It's the TV, isn't it?
Okay. The thing to note is that obviously any code that runs on the std thread is completely separate. So as soon as we assign this, the thread will start running whatever we stick in this body here, but it's completely off on its own CPU. Even if you've only got one core, it will just be scheduled by the OS. So effectively, this function returns instantly, whilst the code is just scheduled elsewhere. So we need to actually make it do something. So let's do that. Let's see, if we're already counting down, it should cause start over, so we've almost done that bit as a to do. But okay, at this point we're not actually running anything. So we need some way of actually updating it every second. So we know we need to call the callback, so that's the most obvious thing. So let's do callback, and then time minus minus. So we'll call it with. So if the time is 60, then actually that's not going to work, is it? I need and. Actually no, I'll just catch by copy. So we'll do time sort of way around this and time. So we capture the time by copy. We don't want to capture it by reference, because when this returns it will be gone. So we'll capture our own copy of time. We're going to call the callback, pass it the time, and then it's using a decrement afterwards. But that's not quite good enough. If it returns true, you should behave as if we were interrupted. Okay, so I need to do if callback, and then to do act as if interrupted. We'll tackle that in a sec. Okay. We're kind of evolving this whilst not actually trying to think about too many variables at once. Basically, part of developing is taking it one step at a time and breaking it down into logical pieces. So, okay, but this isn't really much use because we're just gonna decrement time, and we're not gonna do anything useful. So we're gonna call it once and return. It's crap. So what I actually need is a while loop. So while time There we go. So now, while there's time, we'll call it back, decrement it. Cool. Okay. But can anyone spot what's going to kind of suck about that? So imagine time is 5. So we start out with 5, and then we call it with 5. We decrement it to 4. Now it's 4, still greater than 0. So we'll call it with 4, decrement it to 3, and then 2, and then 1.
After 0, once. Yes.
No, opposite.
The opposite. So before 0.
It will stop executing before 0.
At 1. Yeah.
Yeah. So once this, so what happens is this will be 1. Then we pass 1. We decrement it to 0. We go around, and now it's 0. That's also not good, because if we do pre, if you set it to 10, you'll see nothing, and then you'll see 9, because you won't see the first 10. Sorry, you'll not see nothing. You'll just see 9 straight away. So if you went to 10, you'll suddenly just see 9 immediately, because that's not correct either. You'll skip a second. So, easiest way. That'll do it.
There are no manual leftovers.
We know that we know after this is
cheating.
Let's check. However, one thing we haven't implemented is actually not doing something for a real, actual second. So we are going to use std chrono, and I don't know why I said we weren't. I wasn't thinking of this. I forgot about this challenge. That's why. So I have a really crap memory of std chrono. So we're going to use Google. Go to CPP reference. So let's see, what can chrono do for us? We have system clock, wall clock time from the system-wide real-time clock. Well, does anyone think that's a good idea to use? And if not, why not? And if so, why so? So we've got 3 different types of clock we can use in here for timing. Oh shit. Yeah. Okay, so we have 3 types of clock we can use here: system, steady, and high resolution. System clock is the wall clock time from the system-wide real-time clock. Anyone think that's a good idea to use or a bad idea to use?
It's a good idea. Why not?
Why not?
Oh.
Anyone think it's a bad idea? He thinks it's a good idea. You think it's a bad idea? Okay, yeah, I figured you would. Anyone else? Justin, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Does anyone have a guess why it's a bad idea? Who doesn't, obviously?
Because it's a wall clock.
And why is that bad?
No.
We'll skip more than a second. Could it potentially skip more than a second?
It probably wouldn't. On most platforms, it's probably going to be reasonably accurate. It's not that.
Just not high enough resolution.
For our level of accuracy, we probably don't mind. It's not that either.
System.
It's a really simple answer. It's an engineer. It's an answer you need to think about as an engineer. Do you know what it is? Okay, so be afraid of your users.
Oh, they change the time.
If they change the time, it's going to go crazy. So you don't want that one. That's a bad choice. So
it's probably also going to mean your Pomodoros get very distorted.
Yes, it's something you
if
have
you're
minutes.
working at 2 a.m. when the clock's changed.
Yes, precisely. It will just stop updating if you flip. Also, if the clock's changed, daylight savings, problem. So we can also use steady clock, and this looks reasonably sensible actually. It is quite sensible. It's not a bad choice. However, I'm not going to use it. I'm actually going to use high resolution clock, and there's 2 reasons for that. The main one I'm going to mention is that this will enable me to accurately time how long the callback takes. So if the callback happens to take 500 milliseconds, I know I should only sleep for 500 milliseconds as well. So if it takes 700 milliseconds, I'll sleep for 300 milliseconds. So I can time the callback that I execute. And if they're slow, because I'm not making that callback function, I'm just executing. I don't know how slow their code is. So I can use that to figure out how long I should sleep for. The second reason I'm not going to use steady clock though is because on Microsoft's Visual Studio 2015 compiler, steady clock is actually just system clock.
Really?
For real. For real. And they decided they wouldn't patch it because people must already be depending on this behaviour, so we're going to patch it in 2017. So if you're in 2017, you're fine. If you're in Visual Studio 2015, that does not do what it's supposed to do. Terrible.
Why not?
Because they screwed up and made it system clock instead. and then they just said we're not going to fix it because there's already programs out there that are using steady clock, and it should probably just stay broken because that makes sense in some universe of Microsoft. So yeah, really, really, really top level programming there. Okay, so I've got my Std chrono stuff now, so let's start using it. So first of all, let's actually include the chrono header, so I can actually make use of it. And then we've got a choice now. Do we want to use the high resolution timer class as a private field, or do we want to use a static this time?
That's generally it's available. So would it be any point of using it as private?
I mean, strictly speaking, probably not, because the object, if I do put it on the class, is just getting called from within this lambda, which is capturing the class, so it probably doesn't need to. I'll probably get away with not capturing it in a bit. So I'm going to go static this time, purely because I might be able to simplify this lambda to not capture. In fact, I can probably simplify it to capture nothing if I make time parameter as well. So yeah, we're actually going to go static for this time. So we're going to have static. I've already lost the name now. Where are we? Here. High resolution clock. Sweet. Okay, so we're going to have our high resolution clock. Std chrono high resolution clock. You know, I'm just going to do CLK. Easy enough. And now, to make our lives really comfortable, I'm going to use a namespace you might not be familiar with. If it actually comes alive again. Come on, you can do it. Can't you? Namespace Std chrono literals. And I'll explain what that gives you in a second, or at least I'll actually show you. Okay, so we've got a high resolution clock which we can do stuff with. So I guess what I need to do in order to actually sleep is figure out a second. So we're going to have our start time. So we'll have auto start equals clock dot now. And then we need to figure out how long it took to run the callback. So we have auto end equals now again minus the start. So that's going to be some duration, and that doesn't work at all for some reason. Instantiating unknown structure without a reference. What am I doing wrong there? I think it's just being silly. Tristan, am I doing something daft that I'm not seeing?
Sorry, I was looking straight at this one.
I don't think I'm doing anything daft. I've got the start time there. Nothing wrong with that, right?
No, I think the compiler will be happy. It's just a funny C-line thing.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to ignore C-line stupidity. I did do a working version, so I can cheat and look at what I wrote previously.
Oh yeah. Well, I think clock. It's a static member function. Although you should
it's static. It's not a member function. Also, that's in the same scope. Look, end is in the same scope as these. There's no scope difference here.
What I mean is you can call it as clock colon now. Assume clock is clock an instance.
No, it's a static. It's just a static field.
Right.
I think this is just being silly. I've used this before. Let's see what the type of this is. What is the type of clock right now? Can you work that out? Let's try this. Dot. Min, max, plus, minus. Yeah, I think it's a time point.
Yeah.
So the time point minus, and it suddenly just decided to get smart. Okay. Right.
I'm sure you should leave that dot there. Though.
So
yeah.
one of the contracts I'm giving, I will state this is never going to take more than a second. So we don't have to do anything horrifically complex. So knowing that the callback's guaranteed not to take more than a second, we can now just say, well, we need to sleep for 1 second minus however long it took. So auto sleep time equals, now this is where chrono literals are amazingly useful. 1s is a duration object. This is interpreted for you by the compiler to say take the digit 1 and construct an actual chrono duration object from it, which I can then use mathematically with my end time. So I can do 1 second minus the end. and then it's just being silly again. I don't know why it does this. Anyway, this is not actually an error. So now we're saying 1 second, and just in case you're wondering, I can't do that. You can't do 1 minus end because it doesn't know it doesn't set that the unit is ambiguous. So that's 1 second. We know what it is. Okay, sweet. So we could obviously simplify this. You could just do 1 second minus clock dot now minus, and I'm kind of more inclined to do that, to be honest. So we're going to get rid of the end, don't mind. Okay, so we know how long we need to sleep for, so let's actually, sleep. So stood this thread sleep for accept. There's a nicer way, actually, so one thing to think about, and I won't do this solution just yet, but the problem with this is that it's a bit of a crappy UI experience, because it means that if I do hit start, you don't get an instant response. If I want to reset the Pomodoro, you have to wait at least at most 1 second for it to go around and reinitialize itself. But for now, 1 second, most users can live with that. Good enough. We'll take it. Okay. So, and we could even simplify this more. We could just pass this directly into it. So yeah, this thread is obviously saying our thread, which is obviously inside here, it will sleep for 1 second. Cool. Okay. So now let's finish this off and let's actually do some proper stuff. So one issue that we've not addressed is after we get out of the callback, we'll have slept for a second. Actually, that's okay. No, that's okay. That's actually fine. So we slept for a second, and then we'll finally invoke the callback at 0. All done. Okay. So I need to first of all figure out I'm interrupted. So what's the easiest way to do that? Well, I suppose I could just break. So if this returns true, it says here we have to act as if we were interrupted, so we should just say break. Cool. Okay. I think that should work fine. And what was was there another to do? Yeah, okay, so now we have to figure out how to actually join this up correctly. So we know we're interrupting it, and we know that there's this time field that can impact it. But we're capturing a copy, so I don't really have a way to influence it now. So I know a really easy way of causing it to stop. So we can just, if this is 0, it's gonna stop. Maybe I can introduce an alternative option though. What if I anyone following? We've lost half the people. They've abandoned their laptops and fled.
I think they want for pizza. Pizza is distraction.
There is no pizza. I just popped to the gents and there's no pizza.
See, I brought this with me. I didn't forget to bring it, so we can use.
Crap! I did forget. I'm glad you didn't. Oh, show me. Mad Dog 57. Oh yes, this is going to be good. Okay, so one option I could get that's really easy to make this terminate is I could just make time become 0, but it's captured by copy, so I can't. Once this starts running, I can't actually get to it. So I could move it out, so I could put this in the class, I suppose. But let's not do that. Let's use a flag. Sound reasonable? We're gonna use a flag. Well, what we're going to have to think about is that this is running on a separate thread. So if we're going to use a flag, it needs to be thread safe. It needs to be something that's going to actually be visible properly. So, because the memory model in C++ says that if you just have a standard value like this, if one thread changes this, then you have no guarantee at all that another thread will see it. Now, practically, if you're just running it on your VM here, it's going to work, yes. But even then, strictly speaking, it's potentially delayed. You may not care for this, but we're gonna say we want to be truly correct. So we're gonna have our flag. I'm gonna stick it on the class. I think that's a sensible way. So let's go to our implementation, and what we need is the atomic library. Atomics are guaranteed to have correct memory ordering across threads. So obviously I just want a simple flag, so all I need to do is have you know what I've done also, I didn't even bother using that was a fail, wasn't it? I said I was going to use this and then didn't even bother, but that's fine, we'll carry on. So actually, you know what, I will leave it there, I will make use of it. So let's add our atomic. So they're really simple to use. Is interrupted. And we'll say false. So by default, come on, stop freezing. By default, our boolean is false. And it really is that simple. The type is atomic bool, but you can use it pretty much just as if it's a regular bool. There's some more nuanced stuff you can do with atomics, like compare exchange, but for our purposes, we don't need to address that, fortunately. Okay, so we've now got a field we can use. So first of all, we actually want to test it. So if callback is true or is interrupted, and you know what? As an optimization, I'm going to reverse the order because it's much cheaper to check a boolean, I'm sure, than it is to run the callback. So I might as well just check this first, because if it's interrupted, there's no point wasting CPU cycles on calling this. We can just short circuit here and break. Nice, cool, okay. So, one thing we do need to be aware of though is if we are now joinable, we can just set it so it's interrupted. And then it's just going to stop. Because if someone calls this again, then the lambda that's currently running in the thread will detect it's been told to interrupt and it will go away. And this is atomic, so we know it's just going to work. It's just going to work instantly. And no matter what core it's running on, the CPU will coherently access that memory. Brilliant, or its cache or whatever. So then, of course, to make sure it continues working, if we do set it to true, if this is true, it's just going to exit instantly here. So if someone interrupts it, we will set it to true, wait for this to join, so this will join all this code here. And then the problem is that when we run it again, this is still true, so it's going to just exit straight away. So we need to always unconditionally set it to false. So now we're guaranteed that when we spin it back up, this lambda object, when we do that, it's just going to be nice. It's going to be false. Okay. So now we've pretty much got it implemented. It handles when it's joinable, does all that stuff. That's good. But what about when someone clicks the close button? They're gonna destruct our class. And one thing to note is that if you have a joinable thread and you don't call join, then should you destroy that thread, such as, I don't know, when the destruct of our class runs, it will destruct this. When we do that, it will actually throw an exception. Actually, I think it's UB strictly, but most implementations raise an exception and tell you shouldn't have done that. So you must always join your threads up before you let the class instance destruct. So, well, that's easy enough, isn't it? We'll just have a destructor. So we'll have tilde threaded Pomodoro. We can actually mark it as override as well, if you didn't know, because we know we're inheriting from a base class, so we're going to specify override. That way, if somebody forgot to make the base virtual, or who knows what they do, this will kindly throw an error to tell us that the base wasn't virtual, because we need it to be. So, now that we have our destructor, let's just, I don't know, stick it at the bottom, I suppose. So, threaded, tilde. And if runner.joinable, again, all we need to do is interrupted equals true. Now, to make this code potentially more compact, you could unconditionally set is interrupted to true, and then if it's joinable, you could remove the curly braces, but who cares? So this is our destructor now, making sure that if anything is currently going, just make sure we let it finish off before we finish taking it out. And that should hopefully be it, with one exception. We do need to actually format the current time. So what we'll do is, I'm not actually gonna, do I want to use a unique pointer? Yeah, I kind of want, I'm going to do a refactor in a minute and actually refactor so we use this properly, because right now we've literally just done our own management of all of the necessary implementation without reusing it at all. So I'm gonna hang on to that for a minute, and we're just gonna initialize it by default. Alright, what do I do? Alright, so because I'm not using it for anything else just yet, I'm just going to initialize it with a value of 1 second, because I'm not using this for much right now. But here's what we're going to use it for. So, there we go. Thank you. We're going to obviously implement format current time, because we didn't do that. So let's do stud string credit Pomodoro. Current time, our kind of view, and we can of course do Pomodoro. Oh no, we can't do that because obviously it doesn't know the current time. If I'm going to do this properly, I have to refactor it. Alright, so we'll save that. We'll save that for a refactor in a minute. Okay, so actually I'm just going to be lazy as hell, and I'm just going to do that R value. No, not do the R value. What is it called? Alright, well, since we already demonstrated that little hack, I'm just going to make it public now, so that's fine. Okay, I'm going to have a time formatter. We'll actually lazy initialize one just to show a different technique you can use in C++. So what we can do is we can have a static types time formatter. Come on, you can do it. Cool. So, why can't it resolve it? Did I not declare it in simple Pomodoro? Oh, it's no, because it's a subclass. So I'm also going to move this out because there's no reason. Actually, it'll break simple. It'll break it. Sorry, I'll just keep it there. So, okay. Okay, so we're just gonna borrow that now. So this is lazy initialization. So this object has a single instance. It doesn't matter how many people call this. There will only ever be this one instance, which comes with a few caveats. Firstly, it's only initialized on the very first time someone calls the function. So consequently, you need to make sure that only one person calls this for the very first time, because it's not initialized in a thread safe way. So if I have 5 threads, it's not thread safe. Is it?
I think it is. I think it is.
Is it guaranteed to be thread safe? I thought it wasn't. Okay, I take that all back. It is thread safe. Ignore me. But the point is, there's only one. There's only one of this. So now we can obviously use it. So we can do, and we need the mins and the seconds, which I could totally have borrowed from that class, which I will do later. But we have a slight problem because this just lives in the Lambda. There's no access to it. It's a bit annoying.
So Lambda doesn't allow you so in that case Lambda is a dead end.
No, it's not. No, it's not the Lambda. It's the way I've used the Lambda. The Lambda's fine. So we've now realised that we can't actually have the time object being exclusive to the Lambda because I need to actually read it. So, okay, what can we do? Well, we'll just make it a member of the class as well. But that's also going to be cross-thread. Okay. Not to worry. There's a type for that too. So the std atomic is actually templated, so you can actually just give it any type. You know, you could do an atomic std thread. There's not really much point, but you could make an atomic std thread. Fortunately, there's a convenient wrapper. I can have a uint32t. Time. Hurrah. So we now have the time on the class. Brilliant. All right. So we're going to change our lambda now. It's not going to capture the time at all. So we can capture this. And once my mouse reappears, we are going to set the time. So before we start the thread, we will set time. So we will do this time. And this is something to actually note. So because you've got a field called time in the function, because I declared this variable time, this shadows out the member. So in order to access it, I can do it via this. So you can do this time equals time. In practice, it's probably better not to shadow the variable at all, but for the purposes of demonstrating the technique, that's how you can do it. So this time is the function argument right here. And okay, so now you've got something we can access. Brilliant. So, of course, once again, we need the minutes and the seconds. So I'm just going to do it all in line this time, so we can do time. Now, bear in mind, I'm not sure if this is going to convert correctly, so let's see what happens. I don't think it will. Can I divide it by 60? I suspect I can't. That's a dot, not a comma. No, I can, it converts. Okay, brilliant. So, there we go. We obviously passed the minutes, and it's divided by 60 in seconds. Judo 60. Easy enough. Except, actually, that's probably not a massively clever usage of it. Because when we do this operation, it's going to read it. And then when we do this operation, you have no guarantee. It could evaluate these in any order. That's completely up to compiler. This is not specified. It's not. It could be this way. It could be this way. When we read it twice, so it just so happens.
Both ways, the divide function should put in the ex and ecx. One is the reminder and one is the actual divider. So it will do one operation like that.
So they're two parameters. It can evaluate the parameters in any order.
In both ways, it will do one divide by 60 and have both.
I'm not sure what you mean.
The divide operation on at least x86.
No, but you're missing something out. This is an atomic, so it's going to perform. It's got to perform a barrier read here and a barrier read here. And you have no idea which one it's going to run first. So if a thread updates the value, so say it reads it once, does the module, it decides to do this one first, whatever, because that's the compiler implementation. It likes doing right to left. It does this one first, it reads it, and then in between computing this, the other thread actually changes it again. You're going to end up with a really messed up looking time potentially. It's going to be off. So to use this in a sane way, we should first of all just read it into our own local. So we'll have auto per time equals time dot, what is the function? This is always compare exchange functions. Is it fetch or get? Load, I believe. Yes, it is load, thank you. And we'll have the strong memory, default to strong memory ordering. So now we've actually just read it once, so it doesn't matter if a thread starts messing with it. We've got a, what's the word? Not predictable.
Determinate.
Yes, thank you. Determinate time rather than indeterminate. Okay. So yeah, cool. There we go. We're formatting in time. Sweet. Okay. So that, in theory, is everything implemented actually. So let's give it a shot, see if it builds. Let's switch to this one. No, not this one. Threaded. Yeah. And let's do a build. Let's see what bugs I've managed to introduce. Yeah, here we go. Variable time can't be implicitly captured in the LAN. Now, this is one of those things that really annoys the hell out of me. You have to specify this. Why? Because it's shadow. It's really annoying. Where's the other one? Is that all of them? It should be all of them. Okay. Let's try again. No, it failed to link because I decided to include something that is not actually compiled. So I need to fix the make lists. To be honest, I didn't actually bank on people wanting to include it in the threaded one, but if you're on the threaded one, you should know how to do this. So let's include simple Pandora. Save it. It needs to be reloaded. Great, I'm going to just do it. Okay, thank you. And run. Build a list. Building. Taking them up for Sundays. Oh no, something's still failing. Undefined reference to interrupt. We didn't implement the function, so let's fix that. So this should be fairly easy now, obviously. So we have our, where are we at? Avoid interrupt. No. And eventually it will actually do it. MacBook Pro, folks. Best thing ever. Okay. So, anyone want to guess what what I'm going to put in here?
Is interrupted true.
Precisely. Okay, so now we should hopefully be able to link without any trouble. Let's find out. Warning. We've got a bug. Line 39, what did we do wrong?
Is it you're ignoring what callback contains?
No, it's a really silly bug. We didn't return. Okay, let's build it. No, it won't actually crash like horribly. Okay, we've built it. Let's see how much of a failure this ends up being. 45. Oh no, is it gonna, oh, it worked. It worked. Oh. I got it. Now let's see if I can interrupt it. Let's say 22. Oh, it does. One slight issue though, I'm noticing. I don't see 20, you don't see 22. You don't see 22. Let's investigate that. What have we done wrong? So, let's see what's wrong. So we have while this time, we then have is interrupted, time minus. Time equals time. Doesn't appear to me like we could mess this up. Can anyone see anything wrong with this that I don't? So we post decrement time. So we pass the previous value. It's an atomic uint32. We definitely set it before we start the thread because it's set here. We definitely don't do anything daft like decrement it. So why is it not working? Let's just make sure it's not bugged in the solution, because if I did something silly, where is it solved? Pomodoro solved. Let me just build this real quick and make sure I didn't get it wrong. Okay, let's see what this does. So if this does it as well, then fair enough. 6. No, I did get it right. I did get it right. So we have a bug in here. I'm not sure what I've done wrong. Sometime here.
Maybe the thing on the red? The line 21?
No, that's not an error. That's just C-line being stupid, or it wouldn't have compiled if that was actually a bug. No, it's something to do with the time. It's maybe something to do with the time.
I mean, certainly if you move the decrement to the next line, it works. As you'd expect.
Yes, I know why. Okay, I've just realised why it's wrong. Does anyone else know why it's wrong? Anyone else figured it out? What's causing it to be wrong?
It tries to decrement line in each segment.
And so here's why. So callback takes a copy of the object. So time is passed to it and decremented, and then obviously at some point callback's going to call format current time. By the time when we get to format current time, we decrement it by 1. That's why. So it's because we decremented the time here. So in order to do it correctly, we can just not decrement it here and do it right at the end instead. Or just to be good, since we don't actually need to post decrement, we'll just do it there. And then in theory, this should actually work. So let's try building it again. Let's see what we get. And it's built. Did we fix the bug? 5 seconds. Yeah, we did. We fixed it. 2, 1, 0.
I I get a bug, none of this version, I get a bug on the simple one where if it's counting down and you hit start again, right? Stops.
Yes. Yeah, we have that. I have that as well. I'm not sure what I did wrong on the simple one when I wrapped it. Let me just make sure there's nothing here. Did you, when you built it, did you just follow this?
Well, I just did mine. Yeah, it's very simple.
Okay. Okay. Decrement cancel. Not sure why it's doing that. I think it's to do with threading. That would be silly. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that anyway. I don't think it's anything you've done. So, yeah, our threaded Pomodoro, as you can see, is now. I mean, it's doing all the logic itself, but we could technically refactor this. We could refactor it and reuse our class. So we know it works now. So if you were a sensible person, like me, unlike me, what you would do is you would obviously now git add. Sorry, let's see git diff. Come on. So we can see in a git diff what I've changed. Got all our code. So if you were sensible, you would now git add your code and commit it, so that when you embark upon this attempt to refactor, should you magnificently screw it up, you have something to go back to that you know works. But I'm going to be a cowboy and not do that. Okay, so we're going to have our std unique pointer of this thing here. And let's start figuring out how to use it. So we've got the object, brilliant. So we've got the runner. So what are we going to want? Well, the first thing we're going to want to do is actually not track the time anymore. So let's just burn that away when it's not frozen. I don't know why this is so slow. Let's say goodbye to you. And this is slightly naughty as well because we're now violating the atomicity. This is not truly correct, but we'll get away with it since it's Intel x86. Okay, so now we need something to manage the time, so we'll just leave those in there for now. Alright, so first thing we're going to want to do is instantiate our object. So follow, of course, std, make unique. Simple Pomodoro, and we're going to construct it with the time, obviously. We have is interrupted. I don't think we're going to need that. If we look at simple Pomodoro, does it have a cancel? It does have a cancel, so it has an is complete. So we could probably get away with using that, couldn't we? We don't need to tell it's interrupted, I suppose. So yeah, we can. So we don't need it as interrupted either. Great. So we can that can go away as well. Cool. It's a true refactoring as well. Okay. So first thing first, we want to do this pomo is so we have is complete. And obviously we want to make sure it's not complete, so while it's not completed, do stuff. And then if the callback does return true with this pomo current count. So we need to give it the current count, makes sense. And then we have the sleep time, we have this, and then we need to decrement it. So we obviously have to call this decrement. Okay, so far it's looking roughly the same. Obviously, we time the callback. We have the current count. We have the decrement. We have the 0, and then we need the ability to cancel it. So interrupt is now going to take care of that. We're going to wrap that. So we just do pomo cancel. It's looking a bit more comfortable, isn't it? So all that logic we had to do is actually kind of taken care of for us. So we need to actually invoke cancel here. So again, pomo cancel please. And now we're actually recycling code that we wrote previously. We're using the simple Pomodoro to power our threaded Pomodoro. So the question is, will it actually work? Well, it should. Let's see. We do have a unique pointer. Is it possible that this thing can actually use it when it's destroyed? It doesn't seem so, because we cancel, we wait for the thread to return. We're never going to kill the pointer until the thread has stopped. Looks reasonably safe, of course. The destructor also, it makes sure it's finished first, but we do need to interrupt it, so obviously I've got to fix that. So we can have Pomo cancel. So now we need to cancel there. Oh, and of course I need to fix this. Don't have that anymore, so we have Pomo current count. Or actually, we can make our lives so much easier with this. We can just return what it gives us. So return Pomo current count. Not current count, sorry. Count, sorry. I don't need this crap anymore. Well, that's wonderful, isn't it? I don't have to do anything now. It's just simple ones just doing everything for me. I've just wrapped it. So in theory, if I haven't completely screwed it up, it should work. Let's find out. Okay, we built it. See how badly this goes. Ooh. Hello? Promising. Can I restart it? Can I interrupt it? Oh, we found the first bug. Okay, so we found our first bug there. So let's see what we got wrong. Yeah, that can terminate. So while it's not complete, do we have a bug in Pomodoro? Maybe this was our bug. I think this was our bug. Cancel. It's complete. Maybe not. That's interesting. So if the current time is 0, then it is complete. Why it's not complete? Oh, I know what the bug is. We have an underflow error.
What's underflow?
So the bug we have is that if we call cancel, we set it to 0, but if we manage to then decrement straight after cancelling, we're going to set it's going to underflow from 0 to 2 to the power of 32 minus 1, which is a really big number, and you'll be dead by the time it finishes counting down. So that is our bug. So let's fix our simple Pomodoro, since we know what the bug is now. So we'll just do bool is cancelled. False. Okay. And then of course we go here, and what we need to do is complete return is cancelled, or current time is 0. And then down here we then actually set is cancelled. So now it should actually be sane. Yeah, I don't see anything else wrong with that, hopefully. Alright, so in theory, this should make it behave, so let's try building it again, see what we get. And our survey says, what did you do? Let's do 4 seconds, so we have to wait. And interrupt. Yes, fixed it. So that was the bug. That was the bug in simple Pomodoro, if you were wondering.
Yeah. Did you add this new variable?
Sorry?
Did you use this new variable?
I decided to add an additional variable to address it.
Use is complete. The final method is complete.
No, so this is simple Pomodoro, and we have this cancel now.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because the problem is that someone calls debt. So actually, you know what? I'm gonna rethink this. Let's say we don't want another variable. Can anyone think of a different way of correctly doing this?
I'll just call this complete and definite. If it's not as complete, then definite.
So you mean you did this? You did that basically,
Yeah.
or if not, yeah, that's exactly what I was going to look for. Yeah. if we've not already completed, then decrement it. But if we have already completed, then we need to stop. So one of the things to maybe think about if you were designing this for something that's going to be a really hot code path, if you're calling decrement lots, you've now got the cost of checking every time. Whereas obviously having a separate variable, if you call this infrequently, could actually be cheaper. It just depends on your code path. It's something to think about. Anyway, so we've done it. We've implemented our simple Pomodoro and threaded Pomodoro. Did anyone actually do the threaded Pomodoro last week? You did. A little bit. So it was worth doing then. We got through. It was worth revisiting, I guess. Cool. Hopefully no one was left behind this time. Yeah. So I was actually planning to build on this and have us mess around with having it play a sound through Qt once it hits 0. But I think we're low on time now, so hopefully this was enough fun, even if it was a rerun of the previous week. But we'll definitely get there next week at least. Yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed it. We are going to do our usual beer shaker, I guess.
Yeah.
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 And yeah, cheers, folks. Tom's gonna round off. Oh, go on. Any questions, of course?
Yeah, you go to upload your solutions.
So this I did already implement correctly on a separate branch. So let me just show you real quick before I hand over. If you go to this thing, go to solved, and then you can literally look in simple Pomodoro. Okay, not what? All right, I will fix that later. Let me see if threaded Pomodoro is at least correct. Oh, I know what's wrong. Sorry, it's my bad. So in the solution branch, I didn't bother putting it in the CPPs. The solution's in the header file. So I'll leave it as an exercise to the reader to refactor it if they wish. But they are actually solved in the header file. That's why. Okay.
Cool. Thanks very much for Ollie for preparing this. Amazing. As Ollie said, we have some homework to do to play. Obviously, if you have any questions, I encourage people to go to our Slack channel. If you have an idea for projects and so on, put them on our what's the name of the website? Reddit. Sorry. Moment of blank mind. So put on our Reddit. All details you can find on our website, cpplondonuni.com, and we very much want your feedback, because without your feedback, we can't help you. Yeah, so we will do whatever we think is good, but might not necessarily be good. So that's all from us for today. Obviously, the next class is on Tuesday. So please do, click I'm coming on the Skills Matter website if you want to enjoy this space. If you want a bigger room, make sure that you're coming and you bring more people. So if we have lots of people here, lots of students, they will put us to a bigger room. But we obviously need to make sure that they see there's enough people coming in. Spread the word, retweet my tweets. So the more people knows about that, the better. I hopefully with the next couple of weeks, I mean, it's like every week we come. I got a promise from the Skills Matters that in 2 weeks' time they will have a permanent link which I can distribute. So I will do that obviously in advance. I don't do that currently because there's always a chance it will change. So obviously I don't want to create a confusion. So I put this fairly late, but hopefully in 2 weeks' time we will have the permanent link on Skills Matter website. So that's all from me. Thanks very much for coming, and really big thank you to Ollie for preparing today's class. And see you in Pereshanka.
Yeah, cheers folks. And I will also do some QAing of the solutions that can run that virtual machine, so that you don't have to suffer with a horrific, terrible
For the brave
resolution.
one, I brought today my faint cheese sauce.
If anyone else is struggling with super low resolution, you need to install the VirtualBox Guest X11 package. So that's the X drivers.
Wow, okay. Okay, he solved it. So it's the it's VirtualBox Guest X11. Jesus. Okay.
And then reboot it.
And reboot, yeah, of course. All right, excellent.
Oh, and enable 3D acceleration in the VirtualBox settings.
Okay.
And a big resolution.
Yeah. Well, on Windows it adjusts the resolution automatically. It doesn't when the host is Linux or something.
And then sacrifice a chicken.
Yeah.
Where were you yesterday, Justin?
Yes, I was at home, probably.
Why were you not here?
I didn't sign up for it.
That doesn't matter. It is. I
Well,
told
it
him
actually
on.
wouldn't have fit.
I
Wouldn't
told
have
him
fitted
it
in
was
the
on.
room because it was so busy yesterday.
He missed out on the Germans.
What I really would like to do is actually do some preparation.
I finished
The
the
chap that did the.
But I just don't have the time to do it, so I'm.
Whenever
So he
you
did the
can,
3DS
I mean,
player.
we do appreciate and we understand that people will be coming and going, so that's completely no problem.
I
So
finished
whenever you
the
can,
Keygen part of the Keygen.
Keygen.
you know where we
Keygen.
are.
Keygen.
You know, we're always
Keygen.
trying to
No,
help
Key
somebody.
Generator.
Keygen sounds like something on Monday.
The C++ knowledge.
Oh, wait, that's Keygen, sorry.
Anyway.
It seriously does.
Oh, my charger.
Yes, your charger. I will remember to bring it next time.
Let me know, and I'll go.
Sorry.
Yeah, of course.
We'll put it there.
Just on the floor.
I appreciate
I
it.
can't prepare anything, which I was hoping I would have, but I can't offer because it wouldn't happen.
I didn't blow it up,
Whenever
did
you
I?
have time, you're very welcome. If you're busy,
Mine
don't
gets
worry.
that hot,
Yes,
that's
it's
fine.
busy. There's lots of people here, so
Actually, mine gets hot from that sometimes.
you know we will.
Just as well.
Yeah, we'll
Yes.
find a way.
I just need to look whether or not
I'll try to find Linux to see how it gets.
the serial second part. Got the part
Okay.
malforms is an serial.
I understand.
And then checks whether or not the actual serial fits
Great. They do, because you know when you got this, if you have that, they know who came. So you know, come whenever you can. Yes, we do understand that people will not always be able to come. Yes, so there will be a time when I will be busy, and somebody else will have to give a hand.
I was just asking for the registration.
No. That I don't think that will help.
Okay, thank you.
Ready?